Hi everyone, this is Julie Messineo. I'm going to do the presentation for my concept map. First, let's go over a little summary. Basically, I decided that all of these theories were connected. As you can see, I didn't go over all of them because I felt like these were the ones that were most connected or the ones that I resonated with the most. So that's how I decided to do this rope concept map. And this is also one of my favorite activities to do with students at Launch Leadership. So that also relates to a part of my life. Okay, so let's start with the trait theory, the first one we learned about. Basically, this theory says that traits cannot be learned and that this is what makes a great leader. So it's often used as a test to see if someone's ready to move on into the next step of their organization or like get promoted. A couple of criticisms are that it fails to take in situations and it's really leaving out the people that are great people but don't have these characteristics or traits. It's known as the great man theory because it's taking traits from great leaders that we know in history. And let's look at some. So this is the big five. As you can see, there's 5 different personality traits, and those are said, this is basically one theory of saying what makes a great leader. Okay, next, authentic leadership. It's the main focus of it is that seeing if a leader is genuine and real. And society wants authentic leaders. We want them in our political leaders. We want them in our bosses. So we know now that someone wants someone that they can trust as their leader. And there's 2 approaches, theoretical and practical. First, practical. This describes what makes an authentic leader. So as you can see here, these are some values and characteristics that would go into making an authentic leader. Next, theoretical. This is more about the developmental process of the leader. It takes the positive psychological capacities, their moral reasoning, and those are put into use during their critical life events. Those critical life events lead into 4 things: self-awareness, internalized moral perspective, balanced processing, and relational transparency. If you take those 4 things, that leads into an authentic leader. So if someone is using all 4 of those, they are said to be an authentic leader. Okay. Next is servant leadership. So servant leadership has 3 parts: conditions, the servant leader behaviors, and outcomes. It runs opposite to what you would normally think of when you think of a leader, because the leader is in the trenches doing the work with the followers. So normally people think of leaders as someone that is like delegating, overseeing. This person is really doing the work, the same amount as everyone else, if not more. So let's look into the model. It takes these conditions, so the context and culture, the leadership attributes, how the followers receive this, and then it goes into these behaviors. I'm not going to read all of them to you, but if you take those conditions and if the servant leader is using these behaviors, we know that the outcome is going to be great follower performance and growth, an organizational higher performance, and definitely a societal impact. Usually these things that servant leaders are doing, getting involved with, are going to have a great impact on society. Okay, next, adaptive leadership. So basically, the leaders helping their followers adapt to change and helping them make change. They want followers to be able to get used to change that is happening. And let's look at the model. So there's a couple of different situations where change could happen, but we are looking at the adaptive changes, and leaders will do these 6 behaviors to basically help see what's happening, see how they can help, identify the change, the challenge, help followers calm down, regulate distress, really pay attention to what's happening, and they are going to go back and give the work back to the people. They want to make sure that the followers are being able to be active. And they're also going to protect the people that might not have a voice. So they're going to be listening to their opinions, maybe giving them the chance to share their opinions. And then we're going to go into the holding environment. This is where this interaction of really making sure that followers are adapting to the change that has happened. Okay, next is situational approach. So this is very different than a lot of the different theories because it's saying that basically a different leadership type has to be used in different situations, which makes a lot of sense to me. And we are meeting the followers at their developmental level. Let's look at the model. So as you can see, followers can fall in 4 different developmental levels, ranging from low confidence but high commitment, and going all the way up to high confidence and high commitment. So that's something that the leader needs to make sure that they're matching, because we're going to go back up here, and each of these match up with something that the follower might need. So for example, let's say someone is low confidence, so needs a lot of direction, but is high commitment. So they would be directing, is what the leader would be doing. They would have high direction for the follower, but they might not support them as much because they don't need it. Okay, next is path goal theory, and this is basically the leader motivating their followers to achieve their goals. And usually these are goals that are stated, are clear, basically goals that the organization has set out to achieve. And the leader here is matching the characteristics of the followers. So first, some major components. There's 4 different leader behaviors when you're using path goal theory. First is directive, supportive, participative, and achievement oriented. And you can use a combination of these if it's necessary. Those are going to affect and are going to depend on the subordinate or follower characteristics. And that is also going to depend on the task characteristics. From there, that's where you have your motivation, and you're going to be able to move on to achieve those goals and productivity. Okay, so let's look at the model itself. You have your followers over here, you have your path, and you might run into some obstacles. In most cases, you do. So the leader is going to define goals, clarify path, remove obstacles, provide support, and then they're going to hop right on the path and finish off their goal and productivity. Okay, next is LMX theory, which is the leader member exchange. Basically, here it's focused on the interactions between leaders and their followers. And there's 2 approaches to it, 2 different ways of thinking about it. First is the in and out groups theory, and then it's the leadership making. So we'll start with in and out groups. Basically, here is the idea of what you put in is what you get out. So in groups are doing the follower, the subordinate, is doing extra work. They're putting 3 times as much work as their job describes. And so in turn, the leader is going to give them more. And here, basically that leader will be giving them extra attention, support, but nothing that is unfair. The out group is doing exactly their job description. They're not going above and beyond, but they're not doing less than. The leader is going to do the same exact thing. They won't be giving the subordinates or followers less than what they should be, so they won't be cutting back on salary to an unfair amount, but they won't be giving them extra attention. So that is LMX theory. Next, we have skills approach. Skills are basically things that can be learned, unlike those traits. And there's 2 approaches, sorry. There's the 3 scale and the skills model of leadership. We'll start with the 3 scale. So this is saying that a person would have technical, human, and conceptual skills. And there's a different level needed at every level of management. So as you can see, those levels vary, and you should know where you are so you know what skills you need. Next is the model, which takes the attributes of the leader, what they know, what they can do, how they motivate, their personality. That goes into their competencies, so how they problem solve, their social judgment skills, and their knowledge. So this is really what we're talking about here in this theory. That will lead to very effective problem solving and high performance. So the leader is usually using this skills theory correctly. So using these competencies correctly, this is what it's going to lead into. Okay, second to last, we have the behavioral approach. This is centered around the behavior of the leader, so not the follower. It's what the leader is basically doing. And there's two types, task and relational. And this is basically explaining how leaders use their behaviors to influence followers and reach a goal. Let's look at the leadership grid. So as you can see, there's 5 different behaviors that can be done. The country club management, team management, authority and compliance management, impoverished management, and middle of the road. And each of those are going to be varying on concern for results, so the task, or concern for people, so the relationship. Let's go back here. Okay, lastly, transformational leadership. This is one of my favorites for sure. It's talking about the charismatic and effective parts of leadership. It's about the process. And there's 4 I's here: idealized influence, inspirational motivation, intellectual stimulation, and individualized consideration. So here, it's the emotional part of transformational leadership. It's really helping the followers have a role model and just connecting with them. Next, this is when leaders help their followers become committed through motivation, and they do this through communicating what they want from their followers. So it's clearly stated, hey, I want this from you, and I'm going to help you get there, but this is what you need to do. And leaders are going to push their followers to be creative in a supportive environment. So they're going to push them to go outside of the comfort zone, push them to think outside of their values and beliefs, but it's going to be a supportive and safe environment. And last, this is the individualized part. They're going to pay special attention to each of their followers to meet their needs. So they're going to know what each of their follower needs and what they want to help them transform into a better person. And that's everything. Thank you for listening to my concept map presentation. Have a good day.